Good evening, everybody. Hi, I'm Chip Jenkins. I'm the superintendent at Grand Teton National Park. We're here this evening. We're just giving it a moment here to make sure that everybody is able to get into our virtual room. Thank you for tuning in on this fine fall evening. Appreciate people taking time to be with us. So just give us a moment here. Well, thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Uh, as I said, I'm Chip Jenkins, the superintendent at Grand Teton National Park. We have a team of Park Service employees here that we want to thank you for joining the Reimagining the Taggart Lake Experience public meeting. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping here just to make sure that everybody is squared away with how to use this venue and introduce our team, and then we will kick off the meeting. Nicole, over to you.
Thank you, Chip. So I'll just go through a few instructions for the webinar. If you do have questions that you would like to ask during the meeting, please click on the Q&A box. There's an icon that we're showing on this slide, and at the top there's an arrow that's pointing to Q&A. So you're going to click on that. Once you've done that, then in the next slide, it shows that there's an ask a question box, and you're going to type in there whatever your question or comment may be. We do want to note that the questions that are submitted during this meeting are not considered formal public comments. We're also going to have a copy of this presentation available at the website that's on here. We also will have that in the chat, and it's also on the Pepsi website. So I'll run through today's agenda quickly. We've got the welcome and a project background, and then we're going to explain the purpose and need for the project, planning for the visitor experience and resource conditions, issues and opportunities, the relationship between parking and the trail experience, how you can provide comments on the project, the timeline for the planning process, and then also the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And so now we're going to introduce today's presenters, and everybody that's presenting is part of the park staff. So we've got Chip Jenkins, the superintendent, who just opened up the meeting. We have Sammy Powers, the branch manager of planning, Amanda Brushaber, who is the planning and compliance specialist, and Jennifer Newton, who is a social scientist. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Chip for the presentation.
Thanks, Nicole. Again, appreciate everybody being here to participate in our Taggart Lake public meeting. Taggart Lake is a place that many people start their visit at Grand Teton National Park. It is a popular year-round trailhead. The area serves as a starting point for a range of recreational opportunities: hiking, skiing, backcountry camping, biking. Year-round, it is a place where people are able to start their visit and have a terrific time on any time of year. Grand Teton National Park, like many parks, is experiencing growing visitation, and Taggart Lake is seeing the effects of this. Many people are seeing changes that are occurring to the quality of the experience that they're having there, as well as also changes to the landscape. Some of the challenges that we have when in considering Taggart Lake is ranges from how and where people are going to park, how people access the trails, and how to help people be able to disperse. And actually, it's kind of interesting because the experience that people have in the summer is quite a bit different than winter. In fact, actually, in the summer, in many respects, people are more constrained because they are trying to get on the trail system, where in the winter, people have a tendency to disperse over snow. Here at the park, we've been doing collecting a lot of information about how people visit, and including collecting information at Taggart Lake since 1995. And we know that during the peak summer months, July and August, more than 6,000 vehicles drive past Taggart Lake Trailhead every day. And so part of what we're experiencing is those people who are driving by, seeing the lines of cars parked along the side of the road. We're curious what people think about that. So as we are hearing from park visitors about how their experiences are changing, we also want to take steps to make sure that we're continuing to have a world-class visitor experience at Grand Teton National Park and at Taggart Lake. So we're here today to set the stage and provide information to you so that we can begin to understand your hopes, desires, concerns, and your specific suggestions about what we might want to be doing at Taggart Lake. So taking a look at this slide, the white line around here shows the project area for Taggart Lake. The red line shows the existing trails. We've been thinking a lot about the experience at Taggart Lake and what the future of a reimagined experience might look like. And so the purpose of this project is really to provide opportunities for high quality experiences by creating a welcoming sense of arrival and improved access so that we can meet a greater range of people's needs, particularly people with a wider range of physical abilities in the project area. When we're considering high quality experiences, we're thinking about the entire trip, what it means like in terms of driving and arriving at the park, parking, getting out and getting oriented, and then being able to disperse and go out to the places that you want to visit. And so improved access means that we need to consider the full range of these activities, as well as also a range of the physical abilities that people might have in terms of coming to Taggart Lake and to the park. So this planning effort is needed to address challenges visitors are experiencing while driving, while parking, while getting oriented, and while heading off and enjoying their hike, ski, or bike in the area. So part of our planning objectives here are addressing roadside parking, addressing the arrival sequence and the transition to going off and doing the recreational activities, making sure that we're providing family-friendly experiences and that we're reducing or minimizing the barriers that impede accessibility. And all of this we want to do while we're also preserving and protecting the high-quality natural and cultural resources of Grand Teton National Park. So now I'm going to pass this off to Sammy Powers, our Park Branch Manager of Planning and Compliance for Grand Teton National Park, for an overview of the planning process. Sammy, you out there?
I am here. Thank you, Chip. And I'm Sammy Powers. I'm thrilled to be joining the Grand Teton team at such an exciting time for the park and for the National Park Service. I'm coming from the regional office where I was a planner for over 10 years, and I look forward to meeting many of you out in the community and hearing from all of you in the future. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, on the left, we have two hikers heading west towards the Tetons without any other hiking groups around them on the trail. And on the right, we can see the Teton Park Road and the Taggart Lake Trailhead parking area looking very full of parked vehicles, but there are no vehicles parked on the road shoulder. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing, how we've been working with you in the past. We've been reaching out for the last 2 years to get feedback from you, our public and stakeholders, to better understand how visitors experience the park, especially in light of increased visitation and changing patterns of visitor use. This is an opportunity to continue that conversation with you as we focus in on one of the most popular areas of the park. We believe there's great value in reflecting back on the thoughts and concerns we've heard about changing visitation and our response to address these changes. So the park-wide approach to managing this helps us think holistically about the management direction for the entire park rather than discrete locations. Part of our collaboration has centered on developing park-wide desired conditions that help us understand what we're trying to achieve and maintain into the future for a particular area. Desired conditions paint a specific picture of how an area should look, feel, sound, and be experienced, and provide goals to inform park decision-making. As part of that park-wide effort, we've also started to develop management areas so that we can provide different types of experiences in different locations in the park. For example, desired conditions for the highway are different for those on the Teton Park Road because there are different desired experiences and opportunities along the two different roads. My light just went off, I'm sorry. Much of what we've developed with your input can be seen in the draft form in the story map we released last spring, and we'll put the link to the story map in the chat right now. The Taggart experience itself goes through several of our park-wide management areas. The Teton Park Road corridor is prioritized for scenic driving, and traffic will remain free-flowing with opportunities for photography, bicycling, wildlife viewing, scenic pullouts, and informative waysides and other road-based activities. The area is developed and intentionally designed to move visitors through the park and to destinations, but also includes important facilities like restrooms and waste receptacles and picnic areas. The parking area and trailhead will provide visitors services while also serving as a launch point to nearby opportunities. Park-wide, visitors can expect a highly social area that's developed with services and conveniences for visitors. Moving from the parking area to the trail, there will be a noticeable transition from development and a highly social location to a more rustic, wild-feeling, contemplative setting, but it's not entirely free from other people. This area provides people the opportunity to feel farther out and immersed in their destination. Can I have the next slide, please? On this slide, we have 3 photos showing what we perceive to be desired conditions specifically at Taggart. The photo on the left is an accessible bathroom without a long wait time. The photo in the middle is a visitor taking a photo of the Tetons from a rock on the shoreline of Taggart Lake. She appears to be alone and enjoying some level of solitude. And the photo on the right shows a nice scenic view of the Tetons from the lakeshore of Taggart Lake. When we zoom in to Taggart, we draw distinct connections from the park-wide desired conditions, and we tier off those to create desired conditions specific to the Taggart area. We carry the desired conditions for scenic auto touring and free-flowing roads forward. Specifically in Taggart, we're also looking for parking in designated areas that are convenient and close to the trailhead. This would allow for scenic driving to or through Taggart with unobstructed view sheds of the surrounding landscape, which connects to the park-wide desired condition of outstanding view sheds from the road. Moving into the parking area, we carry forward the park-wide desired conditions for providing visitor services and access to key destinations. Specifically at Taggart, parking is clearly delineated, and there is obvious wayfinding for visitors to access the designated trail without making user-created trails. Visitors feel the transition from the parking area to the trail. Similarly, upon returning to their vehicle, visitors can reflect on their experience without feeling hurried. In addition, visitors can safely access the waysides, restrooms, and trailhead in the area. Also, visitors of all abilities are able to access the facilities. As visitors transition to the trail system and lakeshore at Taggart, they should have the opportunity to experience pockets of solitude as they feel farther away from it all, but not necessarily throughout the whole trail or on the busiest day. But occasionally there should be opportunities for experiencing nature and wilderness. A portion of the trail at Taggart will be accessible to people of varying abilities. User-created trails in the area will be kept to a minimum, as will human disturbance to wildlife or to the riparian area. The Taggart system would provide opportunities to suit different user activities that minimally conflict with one another. Now that I reviewed some of the desired conditions park-wide and for Taggart specifically, I'm going to pass it off to Amanda.
There. Thank you, Sammy. Hi, I'm Amanda Brushaber. I'm a planning and compliance specialist on this project, and I've been working at Grand Teton for about 5 years now, closing in on 6, I suppose. I'm going to talk to you about the existing conditions along with opportunities we are considering in this planning effort. On the screen is an image of the project planning area that Chip showed you earlier, with a yellow circle around the Teton Park Road and Taggart Lake parking lot and trailhead. To simplify the conversation, we're going to talk about the existing conditions and opportunities for 2 focus areas, one being what you're looking at now, the Teton Park Road and Taggart Lake Trailhead and parking lot. The second will be the Taggart Lake Loop Trail and Lakeshore. Next slide, please. During high-use periods, the Taggart Lake parking lot fills and parking occurs along the Teton Park Road, as shown on this slide. When roadside parking occurs, those driving on the Teton Park Road experience obstructed views of the surrounding landscape. At times, this condition can also cause traffic congestion and block sight lines, specifically at the entrance to the Beaver Creek Administrative Area and at the multi-use pathway road crossing. Some people park their vehicle along the road. People parking their vehicle along the road do not necessarily experience a clear transition from the parking lot to the trailhead, and roadside parking has led to soil compaction and vegetation loss beyond the constructed road edge. As people leave their vehicles and arrive at the trailhead, they may notice that facilities were not constructed to handle the current level of use and do not meet modern accessibility standards. The volume of people at the Taggart Lake Trailhead currently overwhelms the existing trailhead facilities. This has resulted in an addition of 5 portable toilets at the trailhead and soil compaction and vegetational loss beyond the developed trailhead area. Next slide, please. So those are some of the issues or the existing condition that could be issues in this area. Through this planning effort and with the information you share with us, we have an opportunity to act and align the existing condition with the desired condition. To provide opportunities for both high quality driving and parking experiences, we are considering several ideas. The design concept on this slide shows just a few of these ideas. They include relocate the summer roadside parking to a reconfigured parking lot that would accommodate more vehicles than the current parking lot. Roadside parking in the summer would be prevented. Potentially realign the multi-use pathway and Teton Park Road and or reconfigure the entrance to the Taggart Lake parking lot to reduce conflicts between pathway users and vehicles. Better define the trailhead area to reduce resource impacts. Construct the facilities to align with future use at the trailhead. We know we don't know what future use will look like, and that's why we're here to talk to you about this. Redesign for a fully accessible experience for all visitors parking and using the trailhead facilities. So the image on this slide depicts just one design concept presented in the public engagement newsletter. We'll provide you a link with that newsletter either now or later in the presentation. The newsletter is also available to be downloaded from the planning page for this project on the Planning, Environment, and Public Comment site. Next page, please. So I told you I'd talk to you about 2 focus areas. The second one is focusing this discussion around the Taggart Lake Loop Trail and Lake Shore. You can see that area is circled in yellow on this slide. We focused on the north segment of that loop because it is the most used and impacted section of the trail. Next slide, please. Between the trailhead and the lakeshore, people experience sections of trail with significant erosion. Erosion and heavy use have caused large boulders up to 16 inches high to become exposed within the trail tread. Impacts beyond the trail tread exist where people navigate around boulders, deteriorated trail structures, or other obstacles. Through the steepest section, the trail is constrained by Taggart Creek on one side and steep slopes on the other. Some people find these trail conditions difficult to navigate. People using mobility equipment may not be able to go over or around large boulders and deep gullies created by erosion. We have an opportunity at Taggart Lake to provide a greater range of people with a chance to explore their park farther away from the Teton Park Road. So a few ideas we are considering. First, we are considering a fully accessible experience where a multi-generational family or people of any ability can take a short out and back hike from the parking lot to the lower Taggart Creek Bridge. To accomplish this, that segment of trail from the parking area to the lower Taggart Creek Bridge would be reconstructed to a width, grade, and surface that meets the Architectural Barriers Act trail standards. These standards are very similar to the Americans with Disabilities Act standards. The second idea we are considering is to improve the trail tread on the north side of the Taggart Loop Trail and along the lake shore to enhance accessibility to Taggart Lake. By this, I mean constructing a trail tread that more people can navigate, from young children to elderly or those using mobility devices. Improvements could include new drainage features, built-up trail tread, and limiting the height of boulders that some visitors find it difficult to step onto or over as they are hiking the trail. A dry stone masonry trail tread through the narrow, steep segment along the Taggart the Taggart Creek is also being considered. Equestrian use is also present near the lake, and we are considering hitching posts on the west side of the Taggart Lake outlet. Soil compaction and vegetation loss exist along the lakeshore where people gather to swim, fish, and enjoy scenic views. A potential action may include using natural materials to delineate and maintain these impacted areas at their current size. Social trails are also present near the lake, many associated with people looking for a place to use the bathroom. Evidence of toilet paper and human waste has been documented in these areas. While we've implemented a messaging campaign to go before you go at the trailhead, we are also considering an idea to construct a backcountry toilet along the trail closer to the lake. So that's a lot of existing conditions and opportunities that I've presented. I've talked about, I've presented our understanding of these issues and a few potential opportunities to bring the current condition into better alignment with the desired condition. I presented them separately, but it's separately between these two focus areas, but it's really important to remember that they function together. And I'm going to ask Dr. Jen Newton to take it from here and explain a little bit more about this. Jen?
Great. Thanks so much, Amanda. And really, thank you everyone for being here this evening. I always look forward to an opportunity to talk a little bit about social science and relationships that we're seeing in the park. And so really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. As Amanda just described, it can be really helpful to think about issues and opportunities along the Teton Park Road and the Taggart parking lot, as well as the trail and the lakeshore separately. But really, these are two parts of one trip and they are inextricably linked. And so as a social scientist in the park, not only do I investigate things like visitor use and visitor experience by using different monitoring tools and surveying or talking to visitors, I also look for relationships or things that are correlated in the data that we collect. And so we know from observations, and I've also conversed with research in the Taggart area, that as the number of vehicles that increase in the Taggart parking area, so does the number of people in the Taggart trail system. So when we go back and think about those desired conditions and what we're trying to achieve in the Taggart system as a whole, we really need to acknowledge the strong relationship that we have between the parking area and the experience that's provided on the trail system. And so to achieve desired conditions for the trail and lakeshore areas of the project, like those opportunities to experience pockets of solitude, experience those scenic vistas, have that sense of discovery and exploration, the maximum number of vehicles or people in the parking lot really must be considered. With more vehicles parked in the Taggart Lake area, or more people that are in the parking area, there will be a higher density of use on the trail system and in those lakeshore areas. This higher density of use on the trail system results in higher encounter rates between visitors, or the number of people that you pass along the trail system whenever you're hiking. And so that also increases these perceptions of crowding and really has decreased opportunities for experiencing those pockets of solitude and that sense of discovery and those other desired experiential conditions that we're trying to achieve in these areas. So really, we want to utilize this opportunity that we now have to leverage this understanding of that relationship between the parking area and the experience that we're trying to provide in the trail system to achieve those desired conditions in the entire project area. And really, your role is so important in this process to help us know what are those desired conditions and what do you see as those issues and opportunity as well. And Amanda's going to discuss a little bit more about your important role in this process.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. All right. So your your input will help us at the National Park Service and Grand Teton National Park understand how to achieve the desired conditions for the Taggart Lake area. We're really encouraging to provide your comments within the comment period, which runs through November 21st. Questions, we've provided you with some focus questions within the civic engagement newsletter that might help us focus in on problems and opportunities you think are important to providing an ideal experience at Taggart Lake. Some of those questions include, what have been the best parts of your experience at Taggart Lake? What have been the worst parts? Are there types of experiences and opportunities at Taggart Lake that are not represented and should be? So I encourage you to take a look at those questions as you're responding. You do not have to answer those questions. You may just provide general comments. That is fine. But we did provide those for you to take and consider in your comments. So to learn more about the project and comment, you'll need to go online at the National Park Service's Planning and Environmental and Public Comment website. The link will be provided in the chat as well as a link of the newsletter. Next slide. All right, so right here is a quick snapshot of our planning timeline over the next year. We are currently in that top section, the National Environmental Policy Act. We're in the pre-National Environmental Policy Act comment period that runs from October 18th through November 21st, and we're encouraging you to review the materials and comment. Following public comment, we will be preparing our pre-NEPA documentation and considering what alternatives are out there. We are looking to come back to you in the summer of 2025 with a NEPA document in some form for public review, and we'll engage with you again through another virtual public meeting at that time. We're looking for a final decision in late summer 2025. Nicole, back to you. I guess it's to Chip now. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Sammy. And thank you all for tuning in. So now we get to a part where we get to be able to take your questions. So you should see, as Nicole said, at the top of at the top of your webpage, there should be ask a question place where you can type questions in. And we look forward to being able to take your thoughts and questions at this time. And just one last time, I'll say, going to the Pepsi website where you can input your thoughts, desires, concerns, hopes is really the best way to be able to help us formulate the best plan for Taggart. So with that, Nicole, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Chip. As Chip mentioned, we do want to make sure everybody is able to use the question and answer in the chat box. So it's the Q&A at the top of the chat box. Also, just a reminder that the questions that are submitted are not part of the formal public comments, but will be part of the project record. So I'm going to start with some of the questions that I see, and I will let you all know who will be answering that question. So the first question that we have is for Sammy. The question is, what is the park doing to manage roadside parking? Why aren't you trying to stop roadside parking at Jenny Lake too?
Okay, thank you, Nicole. That's an excellent question. Roadside parking is definitely an issue that prevents us from meeting our desired conditions along the Teton Park Road, both at Taggart Lake and at Jenny Lake. However, Jenny Lake is not within the current project planning area. But what we would like to know is, how do you feel about roadside parking? We'd really like you to go into Pepsi and let us know, does roadside parking detract from your experience when you're driving on the Teton Park Road? Does it enhance your experience, or do you not care? These are the kind of questions that we're asking you to give us feedback on, so we can help continue to continue to refine those desired conditions and make sure that what we put out for the desired conditions of the park is what you all agree that those are the desired conditions for the park, and it can inform our management decisions in the future. So let us know how you feel about roadside parking. And at this time, we're sticking to planning for Taggart, but there are opportunities for planning in the future in other areas.
Hey, Sammy, can I make an addition?
Absolutely.
Sure. Hey, so thanks for the question on this about roadside parking, and I think it is important to note that at places like String Lake, the park has removed roadside parking. At the Lawrence Rockefeller Reserve, the park never allowed roadside parking. At the areas like Jenny Lake, yep, roadside parking is happening, and at Taggart roadside is happening. So actually, the park is pursued different strategies in different locations, and exactly as Sammy has said, what's really helpful for us is to hear from you about what your thoughts are about how that affects your experience. So use the Pepsi website and let us know.
All right, and thank you, Chip. There's one more question that you can answer related to that. Please provide clarification. We know there is a parking problem, but I'm hearing that plans are to provide a better trail for families and those with mobility issues. Won't this increase parking problems?
I think again, I think the point here is for us to be able to hear from you about what it is your thoughts are about the kind of experience that you would like to have at Taggart Lake. So I think the question for that we're curious about from you is, do you think that providing a trail system that is accessible and usable by a wider range of people, is that something that you would like to see? It sounds like this that you may be concerned about the you may be concerned about the availability of parking. You might be concerned about some other aspects of that. And so I think just bringing clarity to what your concerns are related to that so that we can have a better understanding to take that into the planning process is what would really help us out. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, one more question, and this one's coming to you as well, Chip. Would an NPS or shuttle service from Jackson or the visitor center to this area help to address the issues of parking? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So again, I think what would be awesome to hear is if you think that you would be interested in riding a shuttle system, providing more information about the characteristics or the qualities of the experience that you see that you would enjoy from that. So, for example, where is it that you would like to be able to park your car and to be able to get on the shuttle? What is the kind of experience that you would like to be having in terms of that kind of shuttle service? So again, I think it's thinking through kind of that from the start of your experience through the end of your experience. What is it that you would potentially like to see for your visit? And providing that information to us. That would be really helpful.
Great, thank you, Chip. I have a question that's for Jen. What are some of the thoughts and how vehicles will be limited in the parking area and nearby roadways?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And I think along a similar vein as Chip had mentioned, what we're really trying to understand is what's the experience that you're looking for whenever you pull into the Taggart Lake area and park in Taggart Lake and then transition into your experience, whether that's hiking or cycling or any sort of those types of experiences. How do you want that to look and feel in that area? And also, how do you want the roadway to look and feel if you're just driving past Taggart in order to get to a different destination in the park? And so getting that information from you now while we're in these beginning planning stages is really important for us to understand so we can make really informed decisions as we move forward with this process.
All right, thank you, Jen. Okay, let's see. I've got another question for Sammy. If you limit the volume of people at Taggart Lake parking, will there be chain reaction impacts that affect other areas of the park with increased volume? What are those areas and how will the park stay ahead of future congestion?
That's a really good question, and we appreciate the question. We do not want to see chain reactions throughout the park, and we, at this point, as we think about what we're going to do at Taggart, we don't have any strategies on the table for limiting parking or limiting access to the area. At this point, we're just trying to understand from you if we're on the right track about desired conditions and what you want the Taggart area to look and feel like. And those desired conditions apply to other parts of the park as well. And we'll do our best in making management decisions to make sure that we are achieving those desired conditions throughout the park. So we'll think really holistically about how changes we may make in the future at Taggart could affect other areas and what changes we might need to make in future planning processes at other areas as well to help us meet those desired conditions. But it's really important to hear from you what kinds of experiences you want at Taggart or at other areas of the park to help us set up the management framework for our future decision making.
All right, thank you, Sammy. And I have another question, or I have a question for Amanda. Sorry about that. So Amanda, the question is, are you doing a natural resource inventory before the final planning? For instance, there's a rare Wyoming plant in the immediate area in one of the proposed parking areas. We'll need a survey for it over the summer.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the concern in our resources in and around this area. We are doing inventories for both natural and cultural resources in the area, and we are aware of the Wyoming rare plant in the area. We'll be working with our subject matter experts to either avoid, minimize, or mitigate impacts to that plant, depending on what the designs look like as we move forward and with your public input. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Next question is for Jen. I am most concerned about preserving the quality of the trail and landscape. It seems that there is more demand than can be accommodated. Is there a consideration for limiting the number of visitors at any given time via a reservation system as has been implemented at other parks?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the question and also referencing other parks. We're also doing a lot of learning within the national park system as a whole. And yeah, I think really what I'm curious about with that question is what is that quality of the trail and the landscape that you're trying to preserve and what you're most concerned about with that question? At this point in the phase in the planning process, it's really important for us to understand what is that primary concern for you? What are you yeah, how do you want those trails to look and feel like? What do you want the landscape to look and feel like within those areas? We do have some of those preliminary desired conditions that we're sharing, and you being able to communicate with us of like if we hit it right with those desired conditions or not is really important for us as we move forward and think about this more detailed planning process. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jen. And the next question is for Amanda. I'm excited about improving accessibility and reducing parking chaos. Could anyone speak to how the team is evaluating impacts of the different proposed actions on wildlife and natural resources? How would diverting people or adding more infrastructure change the dynamic?
Thanks, Nicole. This is a really good question, and we are working on getting there. So far, we are still in the pre-NEPA point in this planning effort. Our desired conditions do speak to minimizing impacts to wildlife, vegetation, cultural resources, things of that nature. So I think we need to understand first what it is we're going to be looking to do out there with your feedback. And then we can start thinking about how might this impact our natural and wildlife, specifically resources out there. You're right, there are going to be different considerations we have to take into account there. Something I think it would really help us to, as we start to think about that more with our subject matter experts, we have some amazing biologists on staff here that will help us meet the desired conditions for wildlife in this area. But one of the things you can do is speak to what's important to you about wildlife in this area. What is it that you value in your experiences in this area as it relates to wildlife or vegetation or cultural resources, whatever the case may be, and help us understand what's important to you. Obviously, we want to do what's also in the best interest of the resources, but knowing what impacts to this area you would see as potentially unacceptable or acceptable would really be helpful. So think about that as you're commenting and considering what we've put in that public newsletter. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. And Chip, I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
And one of these, I believe you've somewhat answered. Can you really limit the parking to limit the numbers, which is the underlying issue? So many visitors. Jenny Lake still has much overflow.
So I'll just point out again that actually Grand Teton National Park has limited parking in places specifically to manage to the number of people. The park has done that at the String Lake area and also does that in the Lawrence Rockefeller Reserve. So and the park has chosen not to do that at Jenny Lake. So there are examples within the park in terms of places where we have done both. So I think really the question where we are at this point is we are interested in terms of hearing from you and from other people what your thoughts are about are you concerned about what the quality of the experience is like when you're hiking on the trails or skiing around at Taggart Lake, or you're up on the lakeshore at Taggart Lake, and the idea and thoughts that you might have in terms of different strategies in order to be able to manage to the number of other people that you experience in the areas. So that's where we need your feedback. And again, the best way of doing that is to be providing that in writing to us through the Pepsi website. Thanks.
Thanks, Chip. One more for you. The roadside parking is only a minor issue when I am going elsewhere. Parking is a major issue if I want to park. Is it possible to add another parking area for Bradley, perhaps near the Lucas homestead?
Again, I think that's that is the kind of thoughts and feedback that we are interested in getting from people as we are starting this planning process about whether you think the trade-off in terms of convenience of providing additional parking in other areas or larger parking areas versus the trade-off of what that means in terms of experiencing more people in the trails. So again, use the Pepsi website to be able to provide us your comments. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Chip. Next question is for Jen. I'm surprised there were no photos of the study area in winter. How do the issues of congestion and the user experience differ in the winter? We suggest they do with a different set of needs. Are there any considerations for winter?
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that question. And one of the cool and unique things about Taggart in that parking area in particular, it's that it's one of our few year-round ones that we have in the park. And so, yeah, this is also an opportunity for folks to let us know what are those issues with congestion that you might be seeing in winter, really helping us define that issue in that opportunity in winter and what that is in both the parking area and that transition to a human-powered or whatever it is, skiing, walking, dog walking, snowshoeing type of experience is really important for us as we move forward. And so we certainly do want that information as well, and helping us identify what those issues are in the winter will help us move forward as we continue this process.
All right, thanks. I've got one more for you, Jen. Jen mentioned as a goal for people to experience, and in quotes, pockets of solitude in this area. Given the location of the Taggart Lake parking area and its proximity to the road, do you honestly believe that anyone could really experience solitude on a hike in that area during high use areas unless you significantly limit parking?
Yeah, Great question. Once again, I really appreciate that folks picked up on some of those desired conditions that we're communicating on what we're trying to achieve in this area. And really the idea too is pockets of solitude. It's not saying that you're going to have total solitude the entire time that you're in that Taggart area, but that you will have opportunities to maybe be alone with your group every now and then as you get further into the trail system. And so, yeah, I think Taggart, even during peak use, even different times of day, you might be able to experience those pockets of solitude. And we're really trying to achieve that in this area. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Chip, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Will there be an increase in staffing to rotate rangers on the trail to Taggart Lake and at the trailhead? Much like Yellowstone uses at the West Thermal area, using these rangers to allow the visitor to have that ranger experience. This visibility would protect the important resources for future generations. It seems there is becoming less staffing of rangers each season and their interaction with the visitor.
Thanks. That's a terrific question, and I think interesting suggestion. And again, encourage folks in terms of what it is that you would like in terms of access to information when you arrive at Taggart or up on the trailhead. Is it that you would like to be able to talk to a human being, be it a ranger or a volunteer? Is there kinds of signage that you would like to have? Is there access to information digitally that you would like to have? I think being able to provide us with those kind of thoughts and feedback would be really helpful to us. I will say, I think realistically, we are not in for quite some time, have not been in a period where we have been expanding staffing. Actually, staffing has gradually been getting smaller. And I think, but it is actually a question potentially of would people be redeployed from doing other work in the park potentially? Or as many people know, we have an amazing collection of volunteers that work with the park. Would there be, is it worthwhile to be able to set up some sort of volunteer corps that helps do this? Again, I think providing that feedback of the totality of the kind of experience that people are looking for. Do you want to see a uniform presence out there to be able to talk to or not? So I think there's a variety of opinions about that. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Chip. And Amanda, another question for you. Generally, are there significant cultural resources in this area to consider?
We're still in the process of analyzing the information that has been gathered, and so I can't speak to whether or not there's anything of significance out there. Our cultural resource specialists will be considering the effects of the alternatives as we develop them, and at that time we'll be able to understand whether or not there are significant cultural resources that could be impacted through the actions that we may undertake out there. If there are, those would be disclosed and available for your review during the environmental review period later next summer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm checking to see if there are other questions, and right now I'm not seeing any. And we will wait for a moment for the public to enter any more questions into the Q&A. All right, we've got another question for Chip. And the question is, will there be parking for horses?
I think that is a great question, and I think actually I'll turn it back in terms of what is it that people think? What is it that you are looking for in terms of the kind of experience that you're looking for? Equestrian use is something that happens throughout the park. And so if that is, if there is a desire for having that kind of use of having a stock trailer there in the parking lot, or accommodating that elsewhere, that's something that is useful for people to be able to weigh in on through providing a written comment through Pepsi.
Great, thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wait another moment. Oh, here's another one. This one's for you as well, Chip.
Sure.
A broader issue, people with dogs. Saw one on the trail the other day. Can more be done to inform? Oh, sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing the whole comment. Can more be done to inform / note dog access at the entrance?
That's it continues to be a challenge for us that dogs are not allowed on trails in Grand Teton National Park, but fortunately the adjacent forest that's 3.2 million acres does allow dogs on the forest, which makes for a great place for people to walk. Me as a dog owner, I make a lot of use of the adjacent forest for walking.
All right, thank you. Okay, right now I think we've asked all the questions, but we will wait for just a moment in case anybody has more questions.
We sure do appreciate people tuning in and providing their thoughts. And again, think it would be good, Nicole, if it's possible to actually bring a slide up with the direction to the Pepsi site for people to be able to, as a reminder.
Absolutely.
There we go. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, just as a reminder, folks, right? The best way to be able to get us your feedback is to go to this website and to provide us your comments in writing. And again, while we do really appreciate the questions, we're really at the point here where we're trying to hear your hopes, desires, suggestions on what should or should not be done there. So. And I think that we have.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chip.
I think that we have gotten some. I think we have gotten some things that have been entered through the text that are actually more comments than questions, and so we just really encourage you who have put that in, since they're not really a question for us to answer, to go to the Pepsi website and to be able to provide those to us, as well as also to elaborate further on what it is that you would like to see Taggart be over the next several decades.
All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I will say thank you again to everyone for attending tonight. And Chip, I'm going to let you say your final words as well.
Sure, just thanks very much. That Grand Teton National Park is entirely dependent upon you and all of the other people that care about this place. We appreciate that you take the time and energy, both when you come and to recreate responsibly, and then take time out of your busy lives to tune in this evening to give us your questions and thoughts. And please encourage those people that you know who have an interest in Grand Teton and Taggart to be able to go to the website and weigh in and help us plan for the future. We really appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.